Welcome to the 100 Real Women podcast. I'm your host, Teresa Kittredge, founder of 100 Real Women. We are a nonprofit and nonpartisan organization dedicated to creating connections and inspiring leadership. We see a future where more women are in positions of leadership, and we are set out to interview 100 amazing women doing important work in rural America. And this morning, I am excited to introduce you to our guest. This is Alicia, and she is the mayor of Lanesboro. So everybody welcome Alicia to the podcast. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you, and I'm so glad that we connected. To get started, do you want to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. There's a lot to tell, so I'll try to pick all of the best things. So, as you said, I'm the mayor of Lanesboro, Minnesota. If you haven't been, please come. I'm also the mom of two kids. I've got two 12 and 14-year-old boys. So, if I'm not at work, I'm probably at a basketball game. They feel like they go all season now. I don't know how I'm always at a basketball game, but that seems to be the case. In my main job, I work in clinical research, specifically in decentralized trials, which are something I'm really passionate about because it expands access and lets everybody have a voice and get their data into these clinical trials that shape the future of healthcare. So that's one of my main passions that kind of overlaps really well with my work as mayor, honestly. I'm from rural Mississippi, so you might be hearing a little bit of a drawl. It's still around, even though I've been gone for a little while. So I grew up there, and we grew up very poor. And so, a big part of my story has been kind of overcoming that poverty, becoming the first one in my family to graduate high school, graduate college, get my own home. All these things I'm kind of stacking up on my journey to be the best version of myself and do the most good that I can. I think that's probably good for now.
I love it. And Alicia, when you think about for folks that might not be from Minnesota,
Yeah, it's about 2 hours south of
two
Minneapolis,
hours. Okay.
about 1 hour south of Rochester.
Of Rochester. Yeah, just I always like to put that stuff in context. So
Good
so
idea.
when you think about we like to kick off our podcast always with this question. So if you could share a lesson that you learned maybe from a grandmother or another influential older woman in your life.
Yes. I think one of the things, and this has actually been pretty recent from some of the women in my life, and it's a little bit like cheeky, but it's really helped me let some things go. And it's twofold. One is I never said it would be easy, I only said it would be worth it. And I think that's huge. And I do think it's worth it. And I do think it's not easy. So, like, it keeps being true again and again. But I just remind myself that, like, yeah, that's life. But the second one is, and it's specifically when you feel like kind of people always have something negative to say, or you hear that like somebody was talking about you and you weren't there and you didn't get to defend yourself. And she said, of course they're talking about you. If they were talking about themselves, no one would listen. And I've just rolled around. I've been like covering myself in that. Anytime I feel like I'm just like, that's not fair. I'm like, wait a second. Is this a compliment? Maybe it is. So that's really helped me let some of that go when it can kind of like stick to me sometimes when it just feels really unfair. Yeah.
And when you think about, your connection, you live rural, but what's your connection to rural? How do you feel connected to rural?
Yes. So I was born and raised in the rural South. And when when I was in it, honestly, I was thinking of how to get out because what I saw as rural, especially as a child, was lack and wanting and struggle. I mean, most of our parents worked in factories. They were in and out of jail. There just wasn't a lot of opportunity. And there was kind of this covering of cynicism and just really unfortunate things that kind of like were all over my town, and I think a lot of towns like mine. And so I really wanted out. That's what I saw. I was like, if I can just, study hard enough, if I can just work hard enough, my plan is to get out of here so that I can go to some place where it doesn't feel like this. And so I did that. I left home at 17 and ended up in lots of other cities all over the country. But I've come back now to rural Minnesota, which is actually very similar to rural Mississippi. And it reminded me so much of home, but in all of the best ways. Because now having actually some lived experience, I see that, like, one, the cynicism is not unfounded. The kind of, like, prolonged despair is is true. Like, they really have been seeing things be taken from them for generations. They really have been hearing promises that weren't delivered on again and again and again. And so when they see a fresh face come out and say, "I'm going to help. I'm so excited," for them to push back even though it's really frustrating is really reasonable in a lot of cases. And so I've seen that and been able to have a little bit more grace, but I've also been able to see oh man, things that are so healing for me to be able to have for myself, to have these wonderful women who, like, it seems anytime I need it, all of a sudden there will be like a pan of brownies on my porch. I don't know who that came from. There's no letter, or I'll get a handwritten letter in the mail. And somebody probably lives, like, I can probably see them over the hill, but they took the time to write me a letter and mail it. And they show up when I ask them to. And when they are having conversations about me and I'm not there, it's usually to build me up. It's usually to say, "How can we help? What is going on?" And second to that, to see my kids have the kind of childhood that doesn't really exist, or I didn't think really existed anymore. That they can leave and I don't need to be worried about where they are. That they bike up and down the road, they're in and out of other people's homes all the time. They are safe and loved and looked after. And I know that if they cause a little bit of trouble, someone's going to call me right away. Somebody's paying attention. And I'm so thankful that I get to experience this, that they get to experience this. And so rural is very much my home and a place that I've learned to love, like, even more as I've grown.
Yeah, and if you could tell us a little bit more about your work. So, besides being mayor, we'll talk about that for sure, but tell
Yes.
us a little bit more about your healthcare work and clinical
Right.
trials. What's that all about? I think that's a
Oh,
super interesting career path.
Oh, for sure. So I've been in clinical research now for about a decade. I started out in the chillest version, which is oncology research, not chill, that's a joke. So it's like, everything that you do is truly life or death. And you have people who look look to research as if it's like the last hope, the last chance. And a lot of people do think of it that way, especially when it's something life or death like cancer. And so that's where I started my career. And it's also where I immediately understood that that is not how we should be thinking about research. And it's not how we should be branding research as this, like, last ditch effort, only do it if nothing else works. Research is here to make things better scientifically. So, like, not on vibes, not on thoughts, not on politics, on something that can be proven, on something that can be replicated. That is what research is for. And so I started in oncology research, and then I was able to transition over to decentralized research, and we work on all kinds of things. For example, on cardiovascular health. So we might have a study that's in the entire United States, and everybody is doing it from their phone and from their watch. And we're able to, it's so cool. So, and maybe they don't have a phone. Maybe they don't have a watch. No problem. We can send them one. Maybe they don't have good internet. No problem. We can send them a hotspot. And now people that otherwise would have never been represented in this data get to be a part of it. And we get to learn things we wouldn't have otherwise learned. And so it's been really the joy of my career to be able to be a part of that research and to say, like, okay, it's not good enough anymore to just have, what's traditionally been kind of, it was men at first, right? It was done almost exclusively on white men. And then white women started to get involved. And we've actually seen they're some of the highest participants, but it's usually like people who are a little bit more well off, people who have a little bit more free time, people who have good insurance. Those kinds of people are getting into research, and that's awesome. But we need everybody. We need all different kinds. Because, for example, when we talk about a watch, well, does the watch work on skin that is older? So the elasticity is different, the texture is different. Does it still work? Does it work on the darkest skin tones? Can those little lasers do what they're supposed to do when it's like that much different? Does it work on people who are very skinny, people who are a little bit bigger? How does it work? If you don't get enough of those people to try it, you'll never know. And so we've seen that kind of again and again and again as we get to design and execute these nationwide trials that are changing the world.
Yeah, that's incredible. So how how did you go from that to, how did you end up in Lanesboro and how did you end up running for mayor? I'm just curious.
It's a great question. So I ended up in Lanesboro in a way that most people are like, "Are you serious?" So I was looking for a house. It was right kind of it was still during, but like kind of post-COVID, and housing prices were insane. They were still like out of control. And so I was looking for something that had not increased in value over the course of the pandemic, but had either stayed the same or decreased. And I found that was not traditional homes. It was businesses. And so I started thinking, what is a business that also has a home attached to it? And I found bed and breakfast. And so then I started looking at all the bed and breakfasts that were for sale all over the United States and then narrowing it down based on like some really specific criteria of what I was looking for. And then I found this place. And it's Victorian. It was built in 1897. It is so gorgeous. It almost like makes me sick. How beautiful it is and how happy it makes me. And so I bought it without having ever been to Minnesota. I had never even
Wow.
stepped foot in Minnesota, but
I
I
love
got
it.
but I fell in love with the house, and as part of, like, the process with talking with the owners and working with my real estate agent, I really got, like, a taste of what it would be like because they would walk me around with, like, video call and show me the town and show me the home and tell me about the neighbors, and so that's how I found Lanesboro, and again, it's the best decision I've made, I think maybe in my life to come here, and I was really happy, and it happened, like, right across the street and one down from me was the current mayor, and so I met him, we got along very well, and he wasn't running in the upcoming election, and I had already thought, like, maybe I would run, but I at first didn't realize that mayors only run for 2 years, which in my opinion is not long enough to get anything done.
No. Oh my gosh. You can't get anything done in 2
Truly,
years. Right.
truly. So he was out, and then also our I think because we're so small, our filing period is very short. We have like 2 weeks to file. And so it came out, it was like in my electric bill or something, and I was like, I think I might do this because I had fallen so in love with this place. I had seen my kids blossom here. I felt myself like really becoming the best version of myself by being surrounded by these people, specifically the women here, who really took me under their wing and made me feel welcome and helped me accomplish some of the things I was trying to accomplish. And I thought, well, I want to be here forever. What does that mean? It means that I have to be able to age in place. What does that mean? It means that we need health care here, and there's not any. So Lanesboro doesn't have a pharmacy. We don't have a clinic. The nearest one is about 12 to 15 minutes away, which might not sound like a lot, but it really is, especially if you don't have a car, especially if you don't have money, especially if you don't have like the physical capability to get up and make that trek. It can be really, really burdensome. And so I knew I wanted to address that, especially with my clinical research background. And I also wanted to address, like, okay, can my kids come back here? Because if this is where I want to be forever, it's also where I want my kids to be. If they go off right now to college or trade school or to do whatever they want, are there any houses they can afford when they come back? Are there any jobs here that aren't just minimum wage hospitality jobs? Is there good infrastructure here? Like, what are property taxes like? All of these things I started thinking about, and I realized if I want these things to be true, then I have to get started right now because government moves slow. And so I ran and I won, and here I am.
My gosh, I that is like a great story. Tell us a little bit about Lanesboro. I mean, I've been there. I think it's a
Ugh.
magical place, but tell us a little bit about the community and, some of its attributes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Lanesboro is so special. I think anyone who has been through has kind of felt that. Our community is so welcoming. It's one of those places where I feel like walking down, you better be careful because if you make eye contact with somebody, you could have a 30-minute conversation on the sidewalk, like with a stranger for sure. And if you're not careful, they'll invite you to their home to like have dinner and then they'll bring a bunch of other people over and all of a sudden you're in a writing group that you didn't know about. So we've seen that happen like more than you would think. But We are right in the middle of this beautiful bluff and valley. The Root River goes right through, and so you can come in from our hydroelectric dam, which is also a gravity arch dam, one of only 6 that, like, exists in the
Ah,
world. Very cool, which means it's held
yeah,
together literally by gravity. There's no, like,
yeah.
cement in between the bricks. Anyways, you
I
can
didn't
put in
know
there
that.
and
That's incredible.
yes, it's so cool. So you can put in there and float all the way down the river. It's so relaxing and beautiful. We have great fishing, trout, bass, all that. We also have our own ponds that we keep fully stocked because we love to have people come and fish here. We have 2 theaters. So we're a town of like 780 or so people, 720 at the last census, but we've grown a bit. And we have 2 theaters. One professional theater, which is incredible, and it hosts like all of these apprentice actors and actresses, and like it's just so moving. And a community theater that really makes it accessible for anyone in the community who's like passionate about the arts or wants to learn. So we have both of those, and they're literally side by side, which is so great. We also have an art gallery and Lanesboro Arts itself, which does so much for the community. They literally have like free art programs all summer for kids, every summer. So you don't have to worry about your kids just like hanging out at home all summer unless you want that, because we have free art programs. And then the school also puts on free sports programs all summer too. And those kinds of things really stuck out to me when I first got here, coming from like bigger cities where every single thing cost money. Every
Right.
single thing costs money. Single thing is at like it's, 40 minutes away and you need to book online. And it's like, no, you just like, you let them know that you're probably going to come. You show up, they will throw them on a jersey that they reuse, and they get to be a part of something so cool. And as somebody who couldn't participate in sports as a child, mostly because of the cost and the transportation that was needed, it really is like has a special place in my heart. So yeah, we have all of that. We have a bunch of restaurants. Also something people might not know about Lanesboro is we are franchise free. We do not allow any franchises in our town. We do have a BP. It is a special exception. It is family owned. It's basically the only way to get gas, though, truly. Like, I mean, how else would we get it? But it is family owned. But yeah, I think that really helps keep the spirit of Lanesboro kind of alive. We also have a historical museum that's free, that's downtown, and there's some really cool and some really weird stuff in there. Do feel free. There's a wreath that's like made completely out of braided hair. It's bizarre, but there's all kinds of stuff like that that's really cool. So yeah, that's a little about us. Also we have we're the rhubarb capital of Minnesota. We have Rhubarb Fest every year. So if you like a rhubarb pie or jam or even things you haven't thought of like rhubarb jerky or snow cones or whatever, you have to come to that. And we also have a ton of bed and breakfast that are all like locally owned, lovingly ran. And one of them is even a puzzle house, which you could not tell just going through it. But like, if you do the puzzle house experience, it'll be like, well, just push this. And all of a sudden, like the wall's gone, or like the floor
Ah.
opens up, or like it's crazy. So, and we get to have all of that with like such a small population. We're really lucky.
And when you think about so being mayor and being a young woman, how do you navigate that? And being like a lot of the folks we interview and me too, just living in a community, a very rural community for about 9 years, you're not from there.
Right.
And sometimes that brings a little cloud sometimes. How have you navigated that and being a young woman and serving in that elected position?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it is something that I definitely ran into when I decided to run. And the way that I got through it was by addressing it. So I didn't just let it kind of float by. I didn't just go, well, I'm here doing my best. Like I would go to the people that were saying this and go, okay, but what exactly are you worried about? What exactly do you hope will happen? Do you hope that everything will stay exactly the same? Because you say that you want progress, but the person who's going to make the progress needs to have been here for 40 years. Is that realistic? Have you seen that happen? And they would go, well, I just think, I'm like, okay, well, are you going to do it then? And the answer was always no. Like they weren't going to do it. They didn't have any better ideas. What they wanted to do though was still like kind of complain and sit in that little like, well, it actually makes me a little uncomfortable, so I won't support it. But if you help them kind of really think through it, I found that they really would come around because sometimes the truth just is what it is. Like, you want things to be different, you need a different person. You want progress, then you need a progressive person in there, and they're what they say they're going to do, what experience they bring, what energy they bring should matter more than how long they've been in a certain zip code.
Yeah, good for you. That's a great way to address it head on. And
Yeah.
because it's in any community, but particularly in small towns, I think that that's such a big piece of it. It's so generational. So
Very
you've done like
much.
so many amazing things and had so many experiences. When you think about it, what are some of the most rewarding, things that you've gotten to do in your life, personal, career, service, whatever
Right.
you'd like to share?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've gotten to do so many cool things. Let me think. I think one that was really recent that I'm still like buzzing from, and it's been a couple months now, is going to the Women Winning conference that was held in the cities and getting to
Good.
meet, yes, getting to meet Stacey Abrams. Like, are you kidding me? It was what a public speaker, like what a commander of presence. It was wild. And to be surrounded by all of these women that are passionate about the same things, that are like ready to get to work, that show up, that do it. It was so moving. And at the same time, I had this group of women around me that were making up for the things that I lack. And one of the things I lack is like the willingness to do the networking. Like, I want to do the work, I don't want to do the networking, but networking is part of the work. And I'm just having a hard time, like, doing it. And so to have women around me that would literally like grab my arm, pull me to the next person and be like, you need to talk to this person, get a picture with this person, like to be so seen and like to just have that uh, to have another person and especially another group of people and especially women understand you and want to help you and fill in those gaps and help give you that step up is one of the best experiences of my life so far. So that's a recent one, but I think that one's pretty strong.
That is a pretty strong one. And we just had Nevada Little Wolf on the podcast,
Yes.
and Nevada was really a big supporter when we started 100 Real Women. So she's been a
Wow.
big touchstone for me, and that
Yeah.
is an incredible event. I was really bummed to miss that this year because they bring in great speakers and Stacey Abram. You are right. I love as we've talked and sort of this theme of all these supportive women you're finding, because one of the things we learned when we started this organization, which, isn't shocking, but it's like, women need to better support each other. And, you know, women acknowledging other women and helping other women navigate just makes all the difference in the world. So that's just great to hear some of your experiences. So I'm so happy to hear that.
It's really something that like we don't have a lot of good examples in the media. So, especially when I was growing up, and maybe you as well, like all the media representation of women working in the same place was always set up from this like scarcity mindset. It was always set up
Mm.
as like, well, there's not room for everybody. Like, you're supposed to be fighting other women for like this small piece of a pie and you can't trust them and their cat, like, why were we being fed that again and again and again in the media? To what end did they want us to believe that that's how women work together? And so there's that. And then there's because of that and because of the way that like society is set up, a lot of people didn't have good role models. I didn't have any good female role models until I was probably 30 years old. Unfortunately, like I wish I did, but it just never really worked out because there was that like feeling of competitiveness. Like there's only two of us here and there's like 20 men. So obviously there's not room for us. Like we're going to have to be proving ourselves again. Like this awful feeling that just like carries itself forward. So to finally be at a place where I see and I can actually experience myself how not true that is. How like there is more than enough room. And if there's not, we can make room together has been incredible. And it's something that I'm really mindful of and always trying to look back and pull up the women that I can, because we need to be able to see that so that we can copy it. Otherwise, we're just going blind trying to do like our best, and that can result in good things. But imagine if we just had that as a baseline. Like, hey, women love other women. Women will help other women. And we could start from there instead of having to unlearn all this bullshit to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And jumping back to our initial research too, it was leadership confidence was what women needed. And yeah, I'm with you on that. That's why I think that, mentorship in many different ways. Mentorship doesn't just have to be traditional, like I meet once a month and do blah blah blah. It's
Right,
like that
right.
that basic mentorship. So when you think about being young and thinking about looking at your future, did you ever think you'd be doing any of the things that you're doing? Did you have a plan?
That's a great question. And there's 2 answers because, 1, yes, I've wanted to be a doctor and the president of the United States since I was since I was young.
I like it.
And this again is from somebody in poverty. This is from somebody who both of her parents were in jail, who was in the foster care system, from somebody who had a baby at, 19. And I've always wanted those things. And I've always thought that I could get them and have worked tirelessly for my entire life up until this point to get to where I am. So that is true. That is 100% true. And there was always still this little piece that goes like, but why would it be you? Like, look around you at all the people that are trying and haven't made it. Look around you at all the people who never even tried in the first place. Like, listen to all the people who are saying like, what, this white trash, kind of like blah blah blah, like there's no way you're going to ever be anything. I always pushed past that, like, on the surface level, but there was always this little piece of going like, "Can I do it? Is it even possible to get that far ahead?" And so, now I've been lucky enough to I've really been moving along on those 2 paths, and I'm making progress, and it's like a crazy feeling to be able to do things that you've thought about since you were a child and do them well and do them while being supported by people that you care about. So, yeah, I did have a plan, and I believed in it the whole time, and I was secretly scared the whole time that it wasn't gonna work out. Like
When you talk about that, there's that little voice in the back of your head, and how do you keep pushing that down and pushing that
Yes,
down and overcoming? And so when you're busy and
a
you've
little bit.
got mayor, work, kids, what do you do for yourself? What do you do for fun? How do you recharge and self-care? I mean, what do you do? What do you do for fun and for you?
It's a great question, and it's something that I've struggled with because generally what I do is, like, find more work, right? So I'm like, I just join another board, or I, like, take on another part-time job, or I, like, write a grant, and, like, that's what I'm doing in my free time, and I the kicker is I really do enjoy those things. Like, those things really are fun for me. So they do have that aspect of, like, you know, really making me feel good and using my skills, which I love, and problem solving, which is like my love language. But giving myself the permission to be still and not be productive is something I've really been working on over the past couple of years. I'm not great at it yet, but, like, the idea that being endlessly productive and working your absolute hardest will result in a positive outcome is a lie. It is, like, sold to us again, it's one of those things, it's like, "Why have I been told that my whole life? Why have I been told, like, if you just work hard enough," as if there's not, like, all these systemic things, like, keeping people down, like, that
Right.
it's all my personal failing if I don't, like, make it out kind of thing. It's really hard to turn that off when you've done it your whole life. And so right now I'm in that season of like, I'm actually not just surviving. I'm not just, I'm not worried about my electric bill or if I can buy groceries for my kids. Like, and it wasn't always like that. And so I've been trying to cut off that little piece that goes like, go, 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 run, 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 or you're in danger, right? Okay, well, if you don't, then maybe this won't work out. Maybe you're going to lose that job. Maybe you're not going to get elected again. Maybe. All those things are going anytime I try to take a break, but those are not true and they're not real. And so I've been working really hard on actually making myself take some time And when I do, I love to read anything with a sword in it. Bonus points if there's like a dragon or something. Love that. I'm also like a big anime lover. Pretty much anyone that you could recommend, I will watch it most likely. It's so bad that like I actually refer to like other shows as real people shows because I watch anime all the time, so it's
I
like
love it.
it's a little bit out of hand, but like those are things I do for fun. And then just being outside, it's so gorgeous here. It's like ridiculous. I can just walk around and look at the bluffs for like hours. But I guess that would be it.
I love it. So you are a positive person, and I love
Yes.
that about you. How do you stay positive? How do you keep moving forward? What really gives you hope for the future?
It's a good question. And I really, one of my favorite quotes is joy is an act of resistance. And I firmly believe that. And so I have worked really hard to not lose my sense of like whimsy at things. And sometimes, like, especially the things that we see, like the news and social media and these like atrocities that are happening, they really do weigh me down. And it can start to feel like if I'm laughing right now, am I spitting in the face of all this stuff that's happening around me? If I'm having such a good time, oh, Alicia's having a great day while people are getting gunned down on the street. Like, does anybody deserve that? Do I deserve that? Yeah, I do actually. I do. I do. Like, I deserve to be happy, and me not giving way to despair, me not giving way to cynicism, me really truly believing that things can get better and being healthy enough, especially mentally healthy enough to do that is one of the most important things. And so like I am happy. My life right now is my wildest dreams as a child. To have a house with stairs in it and 2 refrigerators? Are you crazy? I've like that never, never. To be able to like my kids can do whatever sport they want to. Like I get to work remotely if I want to go down to the river and like put my feet in and work on my little spreadsheets while supporting my family. I can do that. Why would I not be happy? If I wasn't, I get a little worked up. So I'll just say like I am happy because look at my life. Look at where I am and what I can do and the abilities that I have. How dare I not be happy? And like, I am somebody, and I'll go ahead and go, well, over here, that struggles with anxiety and depression, but I'm struggling. I'm fighting. You're not going to get it from me for free. Depression's going to have to come for me, and we'll keep going at it until, until one of us wins. And I think it's going to be me. So that's kind of how I keep moving forward because I think you have to.
Yeah, yeah. And when you think about, we've talked about this a little bit, just the support you've gotten from other women and like being at Women Winning with that whole huge room full of women and so many women who, are serving in elected office and just all those pieces. What do you think we can all of us can do to better support rural women?
Uh, it's a question that's so close to my heart for all the reasons you just said. Like I wouldn't be where I am now without it. I think that we first need to get to know rural women. We need to get to know what they're worried about, what their hopes and dreams are, and figure out how we can fit in because a lot of rural women are already doing the work. They're already in the trenches. They're just calling it something else. They're doing all of this work and they're not getting any credit. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves. And this is the way this is in the South and is just as much in Minnesota that like getting credit for something is like blasé. Like you shouldn't want credit. You shouldn't like no, don't take the pictures, don't make the post. Like you just worked for like 10 hours straight on like this, some volunteer shift to clean up the river or to pack backpacks for school or to whatever. But don't be proud of it. Don't ask for a pat on the back for it because that somehow like cheapens it. You can get all the way out of my face with that. I think the very first thing that we should be doing is finding and highlighting the women who are doing things because that is exactly that kind of mentality is one of the reasons why it's so hard for us to break into things because we don't have stuff to point to. We've been quietly doing the good work for generations. And where has that gotten us? Hard pass.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're like, where has that gotten us? And that's a piece for me. It's like, well, you know what? Women lead every day, but
Every
they aren't
day.
in formal leadership roles where they're making decisions on policy, investments, those
Exactly.
pieces. And that is such a good, I love that. Where is it? Where has it gotten us? It has not
Where's it
gotten us very
gotten us?
far. And that's something that, well, you're an inspiration. You're totally
Oh,
an inspirational young woman. I'm just so glad
you're
that
an
I've
inspiration.
met you, and what advice, when you think back, what advice would you give your younger self? And this is a two-part question. And what advice would you give to young rural women who are trying to navigate life?
I think the advice that I would give, which is something that, again, I'm just now really learning, is give people the gift of letting them help you. People want to help you. And again, we're always like it's like so it's supposed to be so like noble to do it all yourself. Like it's supposed to be this whole like again, all this nonsense. But what I realized was like the people are offering you a hand. You're not noble for slapping that away. You're not good or better for going, no, thank you. It's actually sometimes braver and kinder and more generous to go, oh, yes, actually, yes, I will take your help. I will take that meal. I will take that donation. I will take that connection because not only does it help you, that person feels good. That person wants to help you. And when they get to, they feel warm and fuzzy about it. Let them help you. You do not have to do it yourself. Oh my god, now I'm thinking about that poem or whatever. You do not have to, like, walk on your knees. You don't probably, yeah, like the geese one or what like, that is so moving for me because that is where I was. Head down, working, 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 never asking for help. Everything I get's gonna be on my own back. Like, to what end? Like, yes, did it work out for me specifically? It did work out. I did get where I am mostly by myself. Well, I could have gotten here faster. I could have gotten here softer if I had asked for help, or not even asked for help, if I had just accepted the help of people who, especially women, who offered it to me. So let people help you. Accept their generosity. It's one of the most generous things that you can do. And I think that goes for all rural women. And I think also, specifically for rural women who are in poverty, that are hearing things maybe from their own families, maybe from their friends, maybe from their I mean, like, you would be surprised at the people that will say things like this, like, "It's not even worth it." Like, it's not worth who even cares about, like, the extracurriculars? Like, you're never gonna go anywhere. Like, your life is so small. It's not. Your life is infinite. The things that you can do are truly infinite, and I believe that, and I believe that because I have done it. And if you haven't done it yet, if you've been trying and you haven't made it, you are not alone. And it is not a lack of discipline. It is not a lack of hard work. It is not a lack of heart. You are fighting against something so much bigger than yourself, and your fight is worthwhile, and we are here with you. Please do not stop. Yeah.
Well, I am thrilled and excited to see where you go next, and I'm a very good volunteer, so when you're, running your next big campaign,
Thank you.
sign me up, and those pieces there. Alicia, is there anything else you'd like to share before we close out today?
Oh, um, you had some great questions, so you really, like, helped me get a lot of it out. I don't nothing that's, like, more general. I would say we are doing a first of its kind rural health pilot right in Lanesboro,
Oh,
Minnesota.
yeah, tell about
Yeah.
that, tell about that.
So there are so many rural communities who cannot support a pharmacy, cannot support a clinic, but their people still need access, especially in rural America that is rapidly aging. About 40% or more of my population right now is 55 and older. And so we need solutions for those people because thinking that like a clinic is going to magically come back or a pharmacy is going to come back, it's not, right? I wish it was. I wish that all of a sudden we would get this influx of money for rural America. We cannot keep hoping for that. We need new solutions. And as part of that, I'm working in collaboration with the University of Minnesota, Home Care and For America. And so Fillmore County, Minnesota, if you're worried about yourself or one of your loved ones, are they taking their medication? on the right day at the right time every time. There's a study going on right now, Rural Health Innovation Pilot Study, University of Minnesota. Look it up, sign up. We have openings because what we have realized is, and there's plenty of research to back this up, something as simple as medication adherence. So just taking that pill at the right time. If you don't do it, you're going to be in the hospital more. If you don't do it, you're not going to be able to live in your house as long. If you don't do it, you're going to a nursing home sooner. You're dying sooner over something as simple as like, well, maybe I miss my medication a couple days a week. Maybe I'm not doing it at the exact right times. Maybe you get one mixed up. Those seem to some people like, oh, maybe not that big of a deal. It's a huge deal. You taking your medication on time every time is important. You being able to get that medication. So in this study, it's shipped right to you. It's all individually packaged, right time, right day. It's going on. Look it up. We would love to have you. I think that's it.
That's great. And we can, we'll be sharing different links to on our
Perfect.
website for if people can learn more about what we talked about today. But
Yes.
I just want to thank you again. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person one of these days. So
Yes.
it's wonderful. Well, as I said earlier, you are such an inspiration.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just super excited about, that we have you in Minnesota. And
Yes.
I'm
I love
super excited
Minnesota.
about your future. So thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.